I'm doing great.
Thanks very much for having me on. I appreciate it. You're the mayor of the home, the home city of the teams, and we are entering into a pretty serious time. And I'd like to ask you to engage and provide leadership on the issue.
Key Arena has been a great home for NBA basketball for 40 years, and we'd like to see if there are some ways for us to make it a long-term future home for the team as well.
Let me challenge your premise a little bit. The premise is, and I really appreciate the conversation. I appreciate having a chance to talk about it. And the premise is, Clay Bennett, why aren't you getting this building deal done? The reality is, we own the team, and we are dependent upon the community to find a way to get a building done. I am happy to engage. I've offered that from day one. We will respond in any way we can with our consultants, our advisors, our team, and in any way. We'll spend money, we'll spend time, we'll be at the table if there's anything that makes sense. But we've not heard from anyone. And what I said yesterday, and what really it comes down to in my mind, and it's never changed from a year ago, is, does the market want the NBA and the WNBA? And if they do, we got to figure out a way to get this done.
In my mind, it can.
I'm somewhat surprised that no one called me. We've been working hard on this business and on the team and getting people put together. Yeah. And again, it's the market's decision. It's a public policy decision for the marketplace. And, I really don't have the stroke or ability to come up into a very difficult market, a very dynamic marketplace to dictate how we're going to get a building deal done. I tried to advance a concept that we thought made sense,
right?
That we thought was reasonable, that was a building that went into a location that we thought spur additional economic activity and make sense and provide something additive to the marketplace and a reasonable funding solution, in that in good measure a lot of the money was paid by business and tourism, and it wasn't that big a hit to an individual through restaurant and room and rental car taxes. And I must respect those that made the decision, but it never got heard.
It's not my team, other than I'm a Seattle person. The Key Arena has worked fine. And obviously the game changes, the finances of the game change, and we have to be able to adapt within that. But, I think that when you're talking about the 13th largest market in the country,
right,
and compare that with, 48th largest market in the country, 3.5 million people versus just over 1 million people, you're talking about opportunities besides just the court and the arena.
Right.
The arena's good. We can make it better over time, and if there's a long-term commitment, we can figure out ways to get that done.
Well, let me try to respond to that in a couple of ways. Number one, I came to the understanding through that process that two fronts. One, the development of this building and the retention of professional basketball in the marketplace may well not be a public priority. And it's certainly, I don't think, going to be at all a public priority from a public financing perspective. And I absolutely respect that. Every market has needs and has leadership and has constituencies that determine where public money needs to go. And having now spent a year in the market, and I think having a decent understanding of the political discourse, I understand that there are daunting requirements for public money up there. And this may, a private entertainment sports investment, as important as I think it is in terms of quality of life and in terms of what I think is an investment that will pay an economic dividend, I can understand and certainly respect that decision. I mean, Speaker Chop didn't break a sweat on this thing, and it never saw the light of day. So clearly there is support for his position. And then secondly, as I am accessible, I am available. I've not done any proactive statements and press releases and things like that. We've just been going about our business. I have been talking very consistently with local business leadership and trying to drum this up, and there are those that are attempting to engage and find ways to do things, but it's a very difficult proposition.
Well, let's start with some of the ideas that we had put out there a year ago or more with the former ownership. We've got a lease at Key Arena that's based on a startling assumption, and that is that the building pays for itself. And therefore, the lease that the Supersonics has pays for the mortgage. And, you know, you and I, that makes sense in our lives, but it doesn't make sense in professional sports anymore. Mm-hmm. So if the state were to step in and simply assume that mortgage, then we would be able to negotiate with the Sonics in terms of the revenues that they bring into that building going more back to their operation as opposed to paying off the mortgage. So that would free up, some economic cash to make it work better for them. Secondly, we've looked at the physical building and how it can be altered either in the short term, mid-term, or long term to provide something more like some of the newer arenas. And our position on that is if they'll partner with us, they said they'd put $100 million into a new arena. If they'd be willing to put that up at Key Arena, and we come up with a like amount, that's a pretty cool place. An in-city location like that has its own draw. And we think, again, it can be a very dynamic and vibrant home, short-term, mid-term, and long-term.
Well, I'm not sure how to respond to that because, and I'm wide open for suggestions, I assure you, but, we spent millions of dollars in the development of a building, in the process, in the lobbying effort, legal team, PR team, public affairs team, on and on and on in terms of time and effort and commitment to that. I mean, in my mind, that's a fairly significant demonstration of our intentions. Mm-hmm. Since that time, we've been very active in terms of retooling the business, retooling the team. I think making moves that are very important and fundamental to the future of this organization. And I am intent. I am available. I'm not out, and I am talking to private business. I'm talking to people around the country in terms of trying to understand potential financing, creative financing mechanisms for the building. So I'm living this thing and doing anything I can.
I think there is a good future in Seattle at the Seattle Center for the Sonics, and we're excited about the opportunity to at least start that conversation.
I'll tell you what the reality is. The reality is, and I also won't suggest that it's not changed a little bit, and I'm happy to talk about that, but the initial underwriting of this deal for us was, number one, and then we could be called into judgment on this, but we love the NBA, and we love their platform, their brand, their presence, the expansion internationally, their media platform. I'm a huge fan of David and Adam and Joel and the guys that run the league. I'm I like all the owners. I just think it's a very dynamic, interesting business to be in. So that's number one. Number two, we had a chance to get in, and there's only 30 teams, and it's rare that you have a chance. There's very few transactions in the league. Three, we had a chance to go to what I believed to be at the time, and still do, a remarkably dynamic marketplace with a diverse and robust economy, the connection to the Pacific Rim relative to all that's happening in your market, NBA China, the launch through Beijing Olympics, these incredible companies and corporate leadership, the diversity of cultural activities, and of course the beauty of the region is almost unmatched around the world. So to have a platform in that marketplace, we thought was a real opportunity. Number one, we thought the business would thrive. And number two, we appreciate the opportunity to have a platform in the market to perhaps invest in other ways.
I certainly don't have any illusions about NBA basketball as a business. It's a business. It's a cutthroat business, and that's kind of the way it is. I can't really engage in that kind of speculation.
Now, I will say this, that I don't think the viability of the basketball business is as compelling as I did when we started. There's just, you have the competition with the other teams, and even more than that really is the competition broadly in the market, just because there's so much to do and there's so much diversity, and whereas in Oklahoma City, for instance, it would be the thing, and we receive enormous focus and attention and financial support.
In my business, you learn never say never. It is not in the best interest of Seattle to have the Sonics leave or to let them out of that lease early.
I would suggest that's not a wise investment. But what I'm asking for, I'm not asking for public money. I'm not asking for a absolute solution within 2 weeks. But what I'm asking as mayor and as the elected single leader of the community is to find a way to rally the troops and get people to the table, get private business to the table, get government to the table, and first and foremost make a public policy decision. Is this what we want? Now, I will tell you, in light of I-91, that's a difficult question to answer. But that's what I'm asking. As I said in my announcement, we believe that the mayor is the appropriate person to provide leadership and guidance on this issue.
We're on the same page.
Well, I'm all for that. Since you're going to leave me with the fact you disagree with what I've done, at some point in time, I'd like to hear how you would recommend we do something better.
Right.
Appreciate it very much.
All right, take care.
If you'd like to make a call, please hang up and try again. If you need help, hang up and dial the operator.
He's got a real clear understanding of all the issues and a real good grasp of all the issues.